All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're diving into the world of fintech acceleration. Seems like it's everywhere you look these days.
Oh, absolutely.
So, to help us really unpack what's going on, we've got two great sources. One is a really interesting article from Banking Dive. It gives us a peek into Huntington Bank's perspective. And then we've got a broader overview of the whole fintech landscape to give us that bigger picture.
Yeah, should be fascinating.
Totally. So our mission, if you will, is to figure out what's fueling this acceleration, and more importantly, what does it all mean for you, whether you're a seasoned investor or just, curious about what's going to happen to your wallet in the future.
Right, exactly.
This deep dive is for everyone. Okay, so let's start with that Banking Dive article. It highlights how Huntington Bank, through its venture arm, is seeing just a massive surge in fintech venture opportunities. Now, you might think at first glance that a traditional bank would see these fintech startups as, a threat. But it seems like they're viewing it as something else entirely.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, isn't it?
Totally.
What's fascinating is that Huntington's CFO actually sees more opportunities for partnership than competition. And this shift in perspective, it's happening across the industry.
So they're not worried about being replaced. They're looking for ways to team up with these agile fintech companies. I'm curious, what's driving that change in mindset?
I think one key factor is the changing nature of fintech itself. It's less about fintechs trying to completely replace banks and more about providing these specialized services that actually enhance what banks can offer. Think of it like fintechs are developing the cutting-edge tools that can help banks streamline their operations, reach new customers, even manage risk more effectively.
So it's less about disruption and more about collaboration.
Exactly, yeah, a win-win situation.
It's like each side brings its own strengths to the table to create something more powerful than either could achieve on their own. Makes sense. The article also mentioned the increasing role of AI in fintech, too. Huntington's CFO observed companies using it for everything from, back office efficiency to those customer-facing interactions we were just talking about. I mean, what kind of impact is this having on the industry as a whole?
Oh, AI is a game changer, for sure. It's already having a massive impact. Just think about it. You've got these AI-powered loan platforms that are cutting approval times from days to minutes, which is incredible for small businesses that need that quick access to capital. And that's just one example. AI is also being used to personalize financial advice, detect fraud more effectively, even automate customer service.
It's kind of mind-blowing how AI is transforming so many aspects of our lives these days, including our finances. Makes you wonder what banking will even look like in 5 or 10 years,
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, so we've seen how one bank is approaching this whole fintech boom. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. Our second source here gives us a broader overview of that whole fintech ecosystem. And it really is way more than just those banking apps on your phone. We're talking a complete reimagining of how financial services work.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how fintech is making those sophisticated financial tools and services available to more people than ever before. I mean, just a few years ago, you had to jump through all sorts of hoops to, invest, get a loan, or even send money internationally. And now you can do all that with a few taps on your phone.
It's incredible how much it's changed. It's really breaking down those barriers to entry, democratizing access to financial services. And, it's doing this by leveraging technology to make things faster, cheaper, and way more transparent.
Right. So what are the key components of this vast fintech ecosystem? What are the main players that are driving this whole revolution?
Well, you've got the startups, of course. They're the innovators, the ones constantly pushing the boundaries with new technologies and creative business models. Then you've got the infrastructure providers, the cloud computing platforms, data security firms, API developers. They're the ones building the foundation upon which these innovations can thrive.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about the regulators. They play such a critical role in shaping the landscape, making sure things are stable, protecting consumers, all while fostering innovation.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balancing act. They have to ensure a level playing field, protect consumers, but also encourage that innovation and competition. After all, it's that innovation that's driving the amazing progress we're seeing.
For sure. Speaking of innovation, there are some pretty major trends driving this whole fintech boom. One that really caught my eye was embedded finance. That's where, financial services are just seamlessly woven into those everyday apps and platforms we use. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Oh, totally. It's amazing. Think about it. You're booking a flight online, and boom, you're offered travel insurance with a single click. That's embedded finance making your life easier. It's all about making financial services, invisible, integrated into our daily lives so we don't even have to think about them.
I remember when paying with your phone was a novelty. Now I hardly ever use cash. Feels like the future's already here.
And speaking of futuristic, AI and machine learning, they seem to be popping up everywhere in fintech.
Absolutely. We're seeing it in everything from credit scoring and fraud detection to personalized financial advice. What's really interesting is how AI is helping to make financial services more inclusive. Like, for example, those alternative credit scoring platforms. They're using AI to assess creditworthiness based on a wider range of data, which can help people who might not have a traditional credit history get access to loans.
That's huge, giving people more financial freedom and opportunities.
Yeah.
Then there's DeFi, or decentralized finance. It's like the Wild West of fintech, built on blockchain, promising a future where traditional intermediaries like banks become less relevant. DeFi is definitely a fascinating area to watch. Still early days, but it has the potential to disrupt traditional finance in a big way. Imagine a world where you can borrow, lend, and invest without going through a bank. That's the promise of DeFi.
It all sounds pretty revolutionary, but I have to ask, is this just hype? Or are there solid reasons behind this fintech surge? What's really fueling all this growth?
Oh, it's definitely not just hype. There are three powerful forces driving this growth. You've got the incredible pace of technological advancement, the way consumer behavior is rapidly changing, and a shift in those regulations and government support. Let's dive into each of these a bit deeper.
Okay, let's start with technology then. Feels like every day there's a new breakthrough. How are these advancements specifically fueling fintech's growth, though?
Well, think of it this way. Technologies like cloud computing, AI, blockchain, they're like the building blocks for these new financial solutions. Cloud computing allows those companies to scale up quickly and operate more efficiently, And AI, as we've already touched on, it's bringing intelligence and personalization to everything, from fraud detection to investment advice. And blockchain, well, that's opening up whole new possibilities for secure and transparent transactions.
So it's not just one technology, it's the convergence of all these powerful forces, right?
Yeah.
Coming together to create something truly innovative. And it seems like consumer behavior is changing right alongside it. I know I'm always looking for those faster, more convenient ways to manage my money these days. Is that what's driving the demand for these new fintech solutions?
Absolutely. Consumers want convenience, speed, and personalized experiences.
Yeah.
In every aspect of their lives. And finance is no different. I mean, we live in a digital world. We expect to be able to bank, invest, manage our money seamlessly from our phones or computers. Fintech companies are meeting that demand head on. They're offering solutions that are really tailored to our digital lifestyles.
It seems like those traditional financial institutions are struggling to keep up. But is that where the regulatory changes come in? Are governments stepping in to help level the playing field, encourage innovation?
Yeah, definitely. Governments are increasingly recognizing that potential of fintech, to drive economic growth and financial inclusion. So they're creating these regulatory sandboxes where companies can test out new ideas without being stifled by all those outdated regulations. And initiatives like open banking, which allows consumers to share their financial data with those third-party providers. Well, that's fostering more competition and innovation in the financial services sector.
So it really does feel like a perfect storm, The technology is advancing at an incredible pace, consumers are demanding those better solutions, and governments are stepping in to encourage innovation, create a more level playing field. It's no wonder fintech is booming. But let's get specific for a moment here. Within this huge fintech landscape, what are some of the segments that are experiencing, the most explosive growth?
Well, digital payments and transactions are definitely a hotbed of activity. I'm sure you've noticed how we're all increasingly relying on mobile wallets, contactless payments, peer-to-peer transfer apps. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you actually used cash?
It's funny, I can't even remember. And it's not just consumers who are embracing these changes. Businesses are too. E-commerce is exploding, and companies need efficient and secure ways to process all those online transactions. It seems like fintech companies are perfectly positioned to meet that demand. But where do we go from here? What's the next big thing in digital payments?
That's where things get really interesting. Have you heard much about central bank digital currencies? Or CBDC?
I've heard the term, yeah, but I'll admit I'm not entirely sure what they are or what they mean for the future of money.
Well, imagine a world where your digital wallet is directly linked to the central bank, and every transaction is secure, instant, and traceable. That's the potential of CBDCs. They could revolutionize the way we think about money and transactions. We're on the cusp of a major transformation in the payments landscape.
Wow, that sounds pretty revolutionary. I'll definitely be paying more attention to CBDCs. So digital payments are booming, but what other areas of fintech are seeing this kind of explosive growth?
Another area where fintech is making huge strides is lending and credit services. We're seeing the rise of those peer-to-peer lending platforms, connecting borrowers directly with lenders, cutting out the banks, potentially offering better rates. We're also seeing those alternative credit scoring systems that are using a wider range of data to assess creditworthiness, which can be a game changer for folks who might not have a traditional credit history.
That's incredible. It seems like fintech is truly opening up access to financial services for people who were previously excluded. But I can't help but wonder about the risks. Are there any concerns about these new lending practices?
Well, it's always smart to be cautious with any new financial technology. And you're right, there are some potential risks to consider. For instance, one concern is algorithmic bias. These new credit scoring systems are relying on algorithms. And if those algorithms aren't carefully designed, they could perpetuate existing biases and actually make it harder for certain groups to access credit.
That's a valid point. It seems like every technological advancement comes with its own set of ethical considerations that we need to carefully consider. Now, I'm curious about how fintech is impacting wealth management. It seems like robo-advisors and investment platforms are becoming increasingly popular, even among people who aren't necessarily tech-savvy. What's driving that trend?
Well, for one thing, fintech is making wealth management much more accessible and affordable. You no longer need a huge amount of money or a dedicated financial advisor to start investing. Robo-advisors use algorithms to provide that personalized investment advice based on your risk tolerance and financial goals. And they typically charge much lower fees than traditional financial advisors.
So it's like having a personal financial advisor in your pocket. That's pretty cool. But are these robo-advisors really as good as a human financial advisor? Can they really understand my individual needs and goals?
Well, they're not meant to completely replace human advisors, especially for those complex financial situations. But for people who are just starting out with investing or who don't have complicated financial needs, robo-advisors can be a great option. They offer a low-cost and convenient way to start building a portfolio and working towards your financial goals.
That makes sense. It seems like fintech is creating options and opportunities for people at all levels of financial literacy and wealth, which is pretty exciting. Are there any other areas of finance that are being disrupted by fintech that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, we can't forget about InsurTech, which is using technology to transform the insurance industry. We're seeing new risk assessment models that are more accurate and personalized, streamlined claims processes that make it easier to file and track claims, and even personalized policies that are tailored to your specific needs.
So instead of those one-size-fits-all policies, you can get insurance that's actually designed for your individual lifestyle and risk profile. That sounds pretty appealing. It seems like there's no area of finance that's escaping the fintech revolution. But who are the key players driving this change? Are startups still the main force behind these innovations?
Startups are definitely still the lifeblood of the fintech ecosystem. They're the ones pushing the boundaries, experimenting with new technologies, challenging the status quo. But we're also seeing those traditional financial institutions waking up to the power of fintech and starting to invest heavily in innovation.
So it's not just about disrupting the old guard. It's about finding new ways to collaborate and improve the existing financial system. But let's focus on those startups for a moment. What are some of the qualities that make a successful fintech startup? What does it take to thrive in this competitive landscape?
First and foremost, successful fintech startups are intensely customer-centric. They understand the needs and pain points of their target audience and develop solutions that address those needs directly. They don't just build cool technology for the sake of technology. They solve real problems for real people.
So it's about understanding your customers and offering them something that truly adds value to their lives. What else does it take to succeed in the world of fintech?
Well, having a deep understanding of technology is obviously crucial. You need to be able to leverage the latest advancements to create those truly innovative products and services. But it's not just about having a great idea. It's about being able to execute it effectively. Successful fintech startups are incredibly agile and adaptable. They can pivot quickly in response to changing market conditions and customer feedback. They're not afraid to experiment, to fail fast, and learn from their mistakes.
It sounds like the fintech world is not for the faint of heart. You need to be resilient, resourceful, and ready to adapt to constant change. But for those who can handle the pressure, the rewards must be incredible. But what about the challenges? What are some of the biggest obstacles that fintech entrepreneurs face?
One of the biggest challenges is navigating the regulatory landscape. The financial services industry is heavily regulated, and for good reason. It's important to protect consumers and ensure the stability of the financial system. But those regulations can be complex and constantly evolving, which can be a real headache for startups that are just trying to get off the ground.
I can imagine. It must be a delicate balancing act to stay compliant while also moving fast and innovating. What are some other challenges that fintech startups face?
Well, securing funding is always a hurdle for any startup, but it can be particularly challenging in the fintech space. It's a competitive industry, and investors are looking for companies with strong teams, innovative products, and most importantly, a path to profitability.
So it's not just about having a cool idea, it's about having a solid business plan and a clear vision for how you're going to make money. And all of that has to be happening against the backdrop of whatever the economy is doing at the time, right?
Exactly. Economic conditions play a huge role in investment decisions. During economic downturns, investors tend to become more risk-averse, which can make it tougher for startups to secure funding. But when the economy is booming, investors are more willing to take risks, and that can create a more favorable environment for those fintech ventures.
It seems like fintech entrepreneurs need to be constantly aware of the bigger economic picture and adjust their strategies accordingly. Now let's talk about those strategies. What are some of the key approaches that can help fintech ventures accelerate their growth and achieve success?
Well, one of the most important things for a fintech startup to do is build a strong value proposition. They need to be able to clearly articulate why their product or service is better than the alternatives and why customers should choose them over the competition.
So it's not just about building a cool product, it's about understanding what makes it valuable to customers and being able to communicate that value effectively. What else is crucial for fintech success?
In today's digital world, data is king. Successful fintech startups are data-driven. They're constantly collecting and analyzing data to understand their customers, track their progress, and make informed decisions about their product development and marketing strategies.
Data is definitely powerful, but it's not enough to just collect it. You need to know how to use it effectively. Do fintech startups need to have a lot of data scientists on staff to make sense of all this information?
It certainly helps to have data expertise, but there are also a lot of great tools and resources available that can help startups analyze data and extract those actionable insights. The key is to have a culture of data-driven decision-making and to use data to inform every aspect of your business.
It sounds like fintech success requires a unique blend of technical savvy, business acumen, and a deep understanding of your target customer. But let's not forget about regulatory compliance. How can fintech startups navigate the complex world of regulations and ensure they're operating within the law?
Regulatory compliance is absolutely crucial, and it can be a major headache for startups that are just starting out. But there are resources available to help. Fintech startups can consult with legal experts, join industry associations, and use RegTech tools to streamline their compliance efforts.
So there's help out there, but it's still a major responsibility for these startups to stay on top of the regulations. And it seems like the regulations are always changing, which must make it even more challenging.
It certainly does. The fintech landscape is constantly evolving, and regulations are struggling to keep pace. Fintech startups need to be proactive, stay up to date on the latest regulatory changes, and be prepared to adapt quickly.
Agility is up to be a key theme in the world of fintech. You need to be able to adapt to new technologies, new customer demands, and new regulations. Now, let's talk about those technologies for a moment. What are some of the key trends shaping the future of finance? What should we be paying attention to?
Well, artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, are definitely two of the most transformative technologies in fintech. They're being used to automate tasks, improve decision-making, and personalize customer experiences in ways that were unimaginable just a few years ago.
It seems like AI and ML are being used everywhere these days. Can you give us some specific examples of how they're being applied in the world of finance?
Sure. We're seeing AI-powered chatbots that can provide 247 customer support, answering questions and resolving issues in a way that feels surprisingly human. We're seeing ML algorithms that can analyze vast amounts of data to identify fraudulent transactions with incredible accuracy, helping to protect both consumers and businesses. And we're seeing AI being used to personalize investment advice, tailoring portfolios to individual risk tolerance and financial goals.
It's amazing how these technologies are making financial services more efficient, more secure, and more personalized. It really does feel like the future is already here. What about blockchain technology? I know it's often associated with cryptocurrencies, but how else is it being used in the fintech space?
Blockchain is so much more than just crypto. It's a revolutionary technology that offers a secure and transparent way to record and track transactions, and is being used for a wide range of applications in the financial world, including cross-border payments, supply chain financing, and even digital identity verification.
It sounds like blockchain has the potential to streamline processes, reduce costs, and increase transparency across a wide range of financial services. It's exciting to think about the possibilities, but with all this reliance on technology, cybersecurity must be a major concern for fintech companies. What are they doing to protect themselves and their customers from attack?
Cybersecurity is absolutely paramount for fintech companies. They're handling sensitive financial data, so they need to have incredibly robust security measures in place. And the threats are constantly evolving, so they need to be constantly vigilant and proactive.
So what are some of the latest trends in cybersecurity for fintech companies? What are they doing to stay ahead of the hackers?
We're seeing a trend towards using AI and ML to enhance cybersecurity. These technologies can analyze vast amounts of data to identify and prevent attacks in real time, often before they even happen. It's like having an army of digital security guards constantly patrolling your systems.
It's fascinating how these technologies can be used for both good and evil. It's a constant arms race between the security experts and the hackers. But what about consumer education? What can fintech companies do to help their customers stay safe online and protect themselves from scams and phishing attacks?
Consumer education is absolutely crucial. Fintech companies need to provide their customers with clear and concise information about how to stay safe online, how to spot phishing scams, and how to protect their accounts and personal information. They should also offer tools and resources to help customers manage their security settings and monitor their accounts for suspicious activity.
It sounds like it's a shared responsibility. Fintech companies need to do their part to secure their systems and educate their customers, and consumers need to be vigilant and take steps to protect themselves. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something we haven't discussed yet, the global perspective. Fintech isn't just a North American phenomenon, is it? What are some of the global perspectives on fintech opportunities? Are there any regional differences or trends that we should be aware of?
That's a great question. Fintech is a global phenomenon, and it's exciting to see how it's taking shape in different parts of the world. So fintech is a global phenomenon. Let's take a quick trip around the world and see how it's playing out in different regions. Where should we start?
Well, North America, especially the U.S., has been a major hub for fintech innovation for quite a while. They have the infrastructure, the investment, and the culture of embracing new technologies, which has led to a lot of successful fintech companies.
Right. We've all heard of companies like PayPal, Stripe, and Robinhood. They've definitely shaken up the traditional financial world. But what about other parts of the world? Are there any up-and-coming markets that are showing a lot of promise in fintech?
Absolutely. Emerging markets are like fertile ground for fintech growth. Many of these regions have a large population that doesn't have access to traditional banking services, limited access to financial services in general, and a high rate of mobile phone use. This creates a perfect opportunity for fintech solutions that can bridge the gap and provide financial inclusion.
That makes a lot of sense. For example, mobile banking could be a game changer in countries where people don't have easy access to physical bank branches. What are some examples of emerging markets that are really embracing fintech?
Countries like India, China, Brazil, and Nigeria are seeing a surge in fintech activity. Mobile payment platforms, microfinance solutions, and digital lending platforms are gaining traction, giving individuals and small businesses financial tools they never had before.
It's inspiring to see how fintech is leveling the playing field and providing opportunities to those who need it most. But I imagine there are unique challenges in these markets as well.
Definitely. Things like limited infrastructure, regulatory hurdles, and varying levels of digital literacy can be major obstacles. Fintech companies working in these emerging markets need to be flexible, culturally aware, and able to tailor their solutions to the specific needs of their target audience.
It sounds like a combination of cutting-edge innovation and a deep understanding of the local context is key to success in these markets. Now, what about collaboration across borders? Are we seeing partnerships between fintech companies in different regions?
We're seeing more and more cross-border collaborations. Startups in different parts of the world are realizing that they can benefit from each other's strengths. They can share knowledge, expand their reach, and create solutions that work across different markets.
Interesting.
We're seeing partnerships between North American and European fintech companies, as well as collaborations between companies in various emerging markets.
So it's really becoming a global ecosystem where innovation is shared and geographical boundaries become less important. That's pretty exciting. But let's shift our focus back to the individual consumer for a moment. What factors influence whether someone decides to use fintech solutions? Why are some people eager to jump in while others are more hesitant?
There are a few key factors at play. Trust is a big one. Consumers need to feel confident that their money and personal information are safe with these new fintech providers. They also need to see a clear benefit to using these solutions. Is it more convenient? Does it save them money? Does it offer features they can't find anywhere else?
So it's about demonstrating value and building trust. What are some examples of fintech products that have been successful in gaining widespread adoption? What are people really responding to?
We've already talked about companies like PayPal and Robinhood, which have revolutionized the way we make payments and invest, but there are many other success stories. For example, TransferWise has made sending money internationally much more affordable and transparent, and Acorns has made investing accessible to a whole new generation with its micro-investing platform, allowing people to invest their spare change.
Those are great examples. It seems like the most successful fintech companies are able to pinpoint a problem in the traditional financial system and offer a solution that is both innovative and user-friendly. But even with amazing products, there are still some concerns that consumers have about fintech. What are some of the common worries, and how can companies address them?
Security is a top concern for a lot of people. They're worried about data breaches, identity theft, and online fraud. Fintech companies need to be proactive about addressing these concerns. They need to implement robust security measures, use the latest technologies to protect data, and be transparent with their customers about how they're keeping their information safe.
Transparency and communication are definitely crucial for building trust. What other concerns do people have?
Some people worry about the lack of human interaction in fintech. They're used to going to their local bank branch and talking to a teller or calling a financial advisor on the phone. Fintech companies need to find ways to humanize their digital experiences. This might involve personalized communication, providing access to human support when needed, or finding other ways to make the experience feel more personal and less robotic.
It's about finding the right balance between technological innovation and human connection. Now, let's look ahead. What are your predictions for the future of fintech? Where do you see the industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
The future of fintech is incredibly bright. We're going to see continued innovation, rapid growth, and further integration of technology into every aspect of finance. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other emerging technologies will play an even bigger role in shaping the industry. We can expect to see more personalized financial products, seamless cross-border transactions, and a greater focus on financial inclusion, reaching those who have traditionally been excluded from the financial system.
It sounds like a thrilling time to be involved in fintech, whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, or just a consumer who wants more control over your finances. What role will innovation play in shaping this future?
Innovation is the engine that drives fintech forward. The companies that thrive will be the ones that stay ahead of the curve, experiment with new technologies, and quickly adapt to the ever-changing needs of their customers.
So it's all about embracing change and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the financial world. But with all this innovation, there must be challenges as well. What are some of the hurdles that fintech entrepreneurs and investors need to be prepared for?
The regulatory landscape will continue to evolve, so fintech companies need to be adaptable and stay informed about new rules and regulations. Cybersecurity threats will become even more sophisticated, requiring constant vigilance and investment in the latest security measures. And competition will continue to heat up as more players enter the market, so companies will need to find ways to differentiate themselves and offer unique value propositions to stand out from the crowd.
It sounds like the fintech world will continue to be dynamic, exciting, and full of challenges. But for those who are bold enough to embrace the uncertainty and seize the opportunities, the potential rewards are enormous.
I couldn't agree more. The fintech revolution is still in its early stages, and it's going to fundamentally change the way we live, work, and interact with money.
It really is an exciting time to be following this industry.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of fintech. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the trends, the drivers, the opportunities, and the challenges that are shaping this dynamic industry.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you. I hope our listeners have come away with a better understanding of this revolutionary force that's reshaping the financial landscape.
I hope so too. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring, stay curious, and keep an eye on the ever-evolving world of fintech. Who knows what groundbreaking innovations await us just around the corner? Until next time, keep diving deep.